Okay, this is a review for Olive of her Lucio. So, straight away, if we look at the comps, we've got like a brawly sort of comp with the Lucio and the Rhine Zarya and the Mei. The spam from the Junkrat is a little bit out of place, but I mean Junkrat spam here is he's always quite good. It works basically, and the Baptiste is just better on defense than the Moira because you're poking more basically. You're poking more rather than rushing to engage. So this is why you're using the Baptiste, because he can do more in terms of poke. So it's like brawl poke is what we're doing. So your use of speed is going to be very dependent on what you want to do with your Reinhardt, where you want to reposition your Reinhardt to, ideally, and you know, whether it be getting everybody into the fight quickly when there's a Mei wall to isolate someone, then you speed and you get them in there, or if it's a kind of retreat or reposition. That's what you've got to be thinking about, what your job is, because yes, you are a healer, but you're not the main healer. You're a support healer, as in a secondary healer. Your utility is much more in terms of your speed, and you've got to remember that when you're playing Lucio. And so your usage of your amp it up is very important. I'm going to talk about keybinds and mapping and how you've got your controller set up, because I don't know, and it could be improved. I think the way I have it is really quite good, so I will talk through that at the end or something, because I'd be curious what yours is. Anyway, so let's wait until the 3:45 moment to see what the enemy team has, because that's what you should be doing always, and then you know exactly how you're going to play, what you're going to use your ultimate for, etc.
Hold fast! Do not let them through!
So yes, poking and spamming is all well and good. You avoided the fire strike, that is also good.
You feel that?
So I don't know, I guess you saw a critical flash up, and so you've immediately amped, but you've amped speed and now heal, okay. But remember, your aura isn't crazy close. I can't, the aura is not massive anymore. Does it show it when you're doing this view? No, it doesn't, does it? No, it doesn't. That's annoying. Anyway, I feel like possibly you wasted that because you might want it now. I don't know. But I'd say it was a bit early, because again, when you see health bars flash up, if it's a lot of people, then yes, of course you want to amp heal because you are an AoE healer, and Dwayne on Baptiste, he only has a 1 cooldown use of that. He has an AoE heal, but it's on a long cooldown. And to be honest, your amp is on a long cooldown, so you have to remember that. So I'm going to be looking at your usage of it because it is the most... it is one of the things that you need to look at the most because it is such a valuable cooldown because it's on a long cooldown. Anyway. So, that's unfortunate of me. I get slept and hacked and fire striked. So, you know, there's not much I can do. You could say my positioning is quite bad, which it is. And that's one of the things, you know, what you're playing in with this comp is you isolate someone with a Mei wall, you want to speed in there and you want to kill them fast. So, I mean, we could look at that again from your point of view.
Defend objective A.
And see. Okay, so where is the wall? So it's it's arguably not the best. I mean, look, we're not reviewing my gameplay, we're reviewing yours, but that is not a good wall. I think I obviously fuck up, because if my wall was across, then that would isolate the Rhine completely. But even so, we've created like a funnel here, which is amazing for Junkrat. Not amazing against the Zarya, but it's still amazing for Junkrat. So at that point, that wall comes up. That's when you want to be using your amp speed. And you want to be telling your teammates, okay, let's go in. And you possibly, as Lucio, you want to be using your maneuverability to isolate kills. So I've done that wall. You are here. That's one bounce off the wall, maybe another off the wall, off my ice wall. Boop the Rhine in. It's an easier kill. So you do want to be looking at that. Because again, your ability to reposition very quickly is your value, not your healing. You're not the main healer. So, if the way he's moved, you would have been up here and possibly jumped onto this wall and booped him in. But yes, let's stick back with you. Because if you're going to be just standing in the back line, yeah, I mean, you may as well play someone else. You may as well play Ana. And that's not to say that you should be Reddit Lucioing feeding, but you should 100% be with your Reinhardt at almost all times. And see, now he's low, and this is where you want to be saying, okay, let's get out, reposition. And again, backing up this way takes a lot longer. Whereas if you just speed to the right, then not only are you forcing out the Sombra, but you are getting to safety. You're using cover faster. So it's a funny thing, because in this comp, you're the Lucio player, which is, often still you're the main healer. You are in the main healer role. Lucio is played by the Mercy player, which is why it's a good thing that you're playing here. And I mean, Baptiste and Ana, it depends on the comp, because sometimes these days now you have two flex supports at the same time. There was Ana Bap at one point. There was what was the other one? Ana Zen at one point, and then what have we had? There's well, no, I think those are the only ones. Because basically, you're the person who plays Lucio, Mercy, possibly a bit of Moira, a bit of Ana, but most of the time you're also the person who plays Brig. Sometimes, I mean, the only time you wouldn't play Brig is if it was Mercy Brig. But anyway, if it was Ana. Oh, I've just done it again. So frustrating. So frustrating. Anyway, you get the point. I've gone too far. You've dead, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But yes, I would like that after this point, because if we watch what happens, rather than going to the right and pushing the Sombra out, Mythical just gets to stay here. He's not pressured. He just keeps shooting. Just stands still, reloads, hacks, keeps shooting. So that's really bad. We should have forced him out. And we've used Lamp. And that is the other thing. I mean, you don't have to always use your healing in that sense, because you have a Baptiste. He can put out a lot of healing, and also, if you're worried, if there's a really bad moment, he's got his lamp, which early in the fight at this point, he doesn't need to use the lamp for any ultimates or anything like that, so he can save it for that. So anyway, let's go back to you. So there's an amp, but we're still just taking a lot of spam damage. And yeah, the Rhine backed off, but you were in the open, so you might be dead here in another situation if John is paying attention. Anyway, Helix rocket, you know, and anyway, so yeah, with your Rhine, and again, we'll get to this, but basically, yeah, the thing with this is you are on the ground almost all the time so far. You're not using walls at all. And that would be like playing Baptiste and never jumping. It would be like playing Mercy and never Guardian Angeling or floating. It's your passive. It's part of your kit. It's the biggest thing about Lucio. So yeah, you want to be up in the air a bit more, wall riding a bit more. I know it's harder to aim, but that is for sure what you want to be doing. So let's see what happens. I know you get killed here, and I think it's basically just a bit unlucky. But as soon as you take this fire strike, you want to be amping, or you want to be at least hiding. But it's more or less instant, so you can be forgiven for sure. But first thing is to avoid the fire strike. You shouldn't be taking fire strikes really, because you have the ability to switch to speed very quickly and very quickly back. And you can just use that half a second of speed just to step to the side and dodge it. Anyway, we'll skip this because we're on your POV. So again, there are videos you can watch to see how to roll out from spawn quicker. I mean, me personally, I don't even know all of them, of course, but you didn't jump off anything at the beginning, and so you wasted your speed. So there are things that you can jump off. I think there's a lamppost. I think there's something if you go the right side. Anyway, you can check that out. So we're back and yeah. There's not much you can do. The only thing that you can think of is what your role in this comp is, which I know from having done a little bit of preliminary research, you don't quite understand. But in this comp, you look at this comp. I'm just going to get off this because I know it doesn't go well. Okay, there we got no noise. Your job in this, if you look at what you're up against, there are so many things that you could beat for, really. But the biggest one is EMP. That's the absolute biggest one. Now, of course, you died, so you didn't actually have your ult in time. If you hadn't have died, I think you might have had it. Because, you know, people got low, you do an amp heal. I think you might have had it. But the thing is, you have to be really careful playing against the Sombra as Lucio. Because if you use your ult to counter another ult, but she still has EMP, then your ult is completely pointless. Basically. For example, if they shatter you and you EMP, if they shatter you and you beat to counter it because you don't get shattered. Now, in the way you're playing, I'd be really worried that you would get shattered as well because you're always on the floor. But say you weren't, say we improved that side of your playing and you were on the walls and you didn't get shattered, and you could beat for it to make everyone survive, but then they just immediately counter it with an EMP. And all your shields are gone, and you're really low from the shatter. Again, it's complete waste. So really, in this matchup, you want to be as aware as you can be of the EMP, and playing as smart as you can to wait for it to happen, so that you can be in a position where you won't get EMP'd, and you can then, beat. And in some cases, that might mean, that Mythical is going to wait because he knows you've got beat. And if you're playing smart, he knows that you'll be able to survive it, which might mean that neither of you ever use the ult, But that would be a job well done. If you went through the whole match and he never used the EMP and you never used beat, you've done your job perfectly. Amazing. So anyway, because if they nanovisor, yeah, you'd probably be able to beat it and maybe, save the team. But if he focuses on one person, like you, for example, or a squishy, like the Junkrat, they make an ice block. But if he focuses on one person, then he'll probably kill that person anyway. But yeah, you could do it for that. But really, with the EMP, that's your thing. If there's a grav, it's not your job. Why? You've got a Baptiste. He's got immortality. If you know that the grav is coming up with his immortality, and then when everyone gets low, he does his AoE healing, plus your AoE healing amped up, everyone's going to be fine. There's absolutely no reason. If they follow it up with other stuff, of course, if you get naded by the Ana in the grav, then yeah, you might beat to make everyone survive. But again, with the EMP, that's the biggest thing for you. So anyway, this fight is lost. It might not be. Unluckily, Postman doesn't get any kills with this because Autumn very cleverly fades away. But you could argue that that's not the best target for a Riptire. Don't go for the Moira, she's got fade. Yeah, fight's lost. So yeah, all you can do is stagger, and again jumping around as much as you can over the payload and stuff. So basically you can jump a lot more. And again, I'm going to bring this back to your button mapping because I'm thinking that might help your gameplay on Lucio a hell of a lot. So I'm going to get back to that later. So let's just move through. So basically, you have beat, and they've used EMP. So you could use beat to survive one of the ultimates. But the longer you wait, then the more he's going to have EMP again, and you're going to be out. So really, you want to be in time with his EMPs. You want to be doing the same kind of charge. So that's something you want to be thinking about. So let's see what happens. See what happens. So this,
Stop the payload.
I remember, yeah, I wall someone off. So we want to be aggressive. So the speed is absolutely what you want. We're probably not at full speed. He's used immortality, so now we get naded, which is really bad. So you can't heal any of them. So what you want to be calling here, you can see it in front of you. You can see purple, purple. What you want to be calling here is you're naded, speed out. So you should be immediately switching to speed and saying back out, back out, back out. Yeah. And you're still on heals, but you've left your Rhine. The one person that you should never leave, you've left. And I think at this point, after we lost Zarya, I'm probably saying we should die on point to stall any progress. But if that's not happening, then we should be getting out completely, and you should be yelling at your Reinhardt to speed and back out. Which I think there was miscommunication and people thinking, it's that always that indecision of, do I die on cart or do I back out? We've already lost 2 people. It's a mess. So you 100%, the Rhine is not low. You've amped on heals. Nobody needs healing. So that's a big waste of an amp, unless you're going to switch to speed and tell him to back out. Which good, speed, stay on the speed and get all the way out. Now, the other thing is, we're not in a fight here. We're not having a fight. And because we're down 2 people. So we're not fighting. So this is what you would call in the stages of engagement. This is the poke phase, right? Either this is the poke phase or this is you dying on point. Now there is absolutely no reason for you to poke because you have your ultimate. Ryan has his ultimate. Dwayne has his ultimate. all the people that are here have their ultimates. So there is literally no reason to be poking at all. You're just feeding healing charge to Autumn. Thunder's got his ult. So all you're doing is feeding ult charge. So there should be no poke here. You don't need to worry about shooting people. You literally just speed, get all the way out. You want to be gone. Or you want to be taking high ground. Because again, we discussed the fact that we're kind of brawly, but we do have poke. We have poke from the BAP, the Mei, and the Junkrat. I think he's going to switch to Torbjorn, but still, there's some poke there. So you want to be getting high ground so that you can jump on them from superior positioning. And it doesn't have to be me calling this, it can be you calling this, because not everybody can think of everything all in that moment whilst we're playing. But this should be a back out. There's no poke, because there's no one needs to poke to build their ultimates. This is a back out completely. So you should be yelling at Lewis, saying, he doesn't need to be there. He has his ultimate as well. Just run away. Because this is all bad, and basically this leads to us losing a lot of ground on this this first point, because we get lots of stagger kills. Not the first point, second point, but we lose a lot of, because nothing's really happening. So yeah, you could amp heal because he's really low, but you can also see that the immortality has gone down. So again, we're still not a full. I mean, where is everybody? We're still not. Yeah, look, Torbjorn's still coming back. We're not at full strength, so we should still not be in a mode in our brains of we're engaging in a fight. We shouldn't be doing that. He's hacked you so that you can't heal. So your amp was completely wasted anyway, but you weren't to know that. But yeah, we should still not be in a we're fighting stage, because they're just pushing cart for free. If we, and again, as main support, a big part of main support is calling, because you get to see things. If we had sped all the way back, and gone up round here, taken the high ground, up here, poked from safety whilst we gave them the cart, they would be feeling very uncomfortable about the fact that we were above them. And then, who knows, we can either window from up here, we can grab from behind. If I build my ult fast enough, we can get a blizzard from behind. Or we can, we can shatter from behind. Our position from up here, we can come up here, we can get round here, we can do loads of stuff. So, again, like I said, as the main support, this is just really bad. 1, we're down. 2, we've wasted loads of valuable resources. I'm sure Lewis's shield is at half, so he's done a pretty good job, but his health is fucking destroyed. So we're low resources, and we've got no positional advantage, and we've just given ground for free. So all in all, really bad from all of us. So the thing is, as we said, Mythica's actually, he's done a lot. He's built up his so I don't know what's happened here. I'm on Dwayne. Unfortunately, Dwayne is missing a lot of shots. Yeah, he was forced to use the immortality because he missed a lot of shots on Saint.
Inside, stay alive.
This is good, but if for some reason, yeah, he's just missing. So the Rhine is down. This is really bad. This is really bad, the way it's antied. But basically you are now very susceptible to a bunch of stuff. So there's the ult. Now again, all we're doing here, they're just free pushing. We're not stopping the cart. So I know that you beat to counter the soldier ult, but really this whole time it gains us nothing. It's a complete waste, all of it. Although your beat actually saves my life. But it's just this is from our team, this is just really bad, because we're doing nothing. We're doing nothing the whole time. And it was all because of that Like, look, they've basically pushed it all the way up here. So again, as the main support, you can make decisions like this. It's part of your job, and especially as the Lucio, because you are literally, basically, you're like the puppeteer. You're like, okay, we're going this way, we'll speed this way. Okay, go that way, speed this way. You can move people around. Anyway, I'm going on for quite a long time. Not sure how you get that kill, but it's nice nonetheless. But yeah, so we get EMP'd, and we've used the beat. So this should be just a... And they have a lot. This should be a die on point, not back up sort of thing. Because anytime an EMP is out, and you don't have... You know, if it catches everyone and you don't have anything to counter it, you just die on point. But yeah, I do that. I die on point. So I get quite a lot of stall out here. And I even do this to stall a bit more. So now here's another big mistake. I've stalled, so we have time for a recontest. But Saint has literally just died with me. Now I'm not such a massive deal, but the main tank is. So you should. I've seen it, so I know what's going to happen. But you guys should not be going out now. This is crazy. There is at least another 10 seconds before that cart gets to the end. So coming out here is really suicidal. Then the other thing is, so this is a nice idea, but going out and vertically booping him here, it gives him so much maneuverability. He's never going off the edge like this. Whereas if you, because like you can see he goes all the way up there, he goes really far, but it's up, which means he gets, if you did that from here, now how do you get up there, you say? I mean, you jump off the sides, you use your walls, jump here, up a bit, and aim it down, you might be getting him off here. But really, another thing you could do instead of walking out front and center, is go out the side. Now, yes, there's a Zarya here, but you didn't know that. But you should be going out as a group, as a 3, not by yourself. You're in no man's land here. Absolutely in no man's land. You should be with your tanks. And ideally that means you should be waiting for your Rhine. But this is a famous, famous spot for Lucio. In terms of jumping off here, coming down here, around here, and then using your speed to bounce off here, here, and then this. You see on this wall, look at this. The way this is set up, it's set up for you to get boops in this place. And that could be simply, you know, like I said, jumping across and booping here. But, you know, it could also mean jumping, turning, and booping this way. I don't know if you know this, but if you boop at this angle, you can still, that's still booping them this way. If it's just slightly not, you know, straight down, you're booping them to a side. Similarly, if I was to boop here, not there, but here, that's going to boop the soldier off where he is. So, I've done it again. So I'm going to just pause there, and we're going to talk about a few things. And then we'll get back to the position that we're at. So there we go. Okay.
Come on, let's bring it together.
Okay. So let's just very briefly talk about bindings, control settings, because I think this is a huge thing for Lucio on controller. But this is what I have. So first thing, I don't know, allow backwards wall ride. So this is changed. I've just left it as it is. But yeah, allow backwards wall ride. That's pretty important. Make sure you have that. But here's the biggie. My jump is on L1. I don't know what, obviously the default is X. That's horrendous for Lucio because for many characters, to be honest, you don't, if their maneuverability is one of their key aspects, you don't want to be taking your right thumbstick or your left thumbstick. You don't want to be taking your thumbs off those thumbsticks because you don't want to lose control of your character whilst you're jumping or doing what it is they do. So yeah, super important. And then when I did this and I thought to myself, right, well, what am I going to, switch? What is not as important? And the thing is, if you don't change the next thing, it will do this as well. But the thing that you need to be switching with Lucio a lot is you need to be switching your crossfade. You need to be doing this all the time. So you don't want that bound. So that is off for me. That is R1, and that leaves your amp. Because if you look at your amp, and what is it? It's a 12-second cooldown. So you're not actually going to be pressing that as much. And on that rare occasion that you do press it, you can just quickly take your thumb off and press X. So I think that's a pretty important thing that you need to have set up. And I mean, the other thing, obviously, Lucio has changed massively now with this whole thing that you only need to press it once. But a key thing to know about Lucio, which I don't know if you know this, but you can jump off different surfaces as long as they are not flat. So if you're on a flat wall, like here, I can't jump twice off this surface because it's flat, right? I can't do that. But if it's a curved, if it's not, you have to think about it in terms of the pixels. This curve is made up of loads and loads of flat surfaces, like just, thousands of them. Maybe not thousands, actually, you can even slightly see them. You can slightly see them. But yeah, it's made up of lots of flat surfaces. But they're different flat surfaces. So that's why you could, as long as you land on a different one, keep jumping off this without falling to the ground. Whereas if I do it off here, and I jump, and I land, and I can only do it once, because it's a flat surface. But if I do it here, for example, then you see, I can just climb almost vertically, because it's not a flat surface. It's lots of different flat surfaces. So that's a pretty interesting thing about Lucio to know. And so you see, actually, you can almost climb vertically as long as the surface is not flat. So if there's any animations, any bits of stuff sticking out, because you see here, this is one surface. This is a different surface. That's a different surface. It might even have several surfaces. Yes, it does. But that means that you can, I mean, here it's on a ledge, so it's quite hard to do. But yeah, so being able to climb like that, it's super important on Lucio. Different surfaces, obviously, if you want to stay on one surface, you know that you just hold it down. And that whole thing about being able to go backwards, pretty important. Yeah. Anyway, that's a pretty important thing about Lucio. But yeah, if you watch some of the super pros, and your change of speed, looking where you're going, to get the most momentum, you want to look in the way that you're going. So if I go off this corner and I look down, I mean, there's going to be a thing in a way, so it's hard to say, but I'm going to go at a different, whereas if I look up. So if you want to get height, you need to look up as you tap now L1. And obviously if you change, you're going to change your momentum. So I mean, Lucio is one of my better heroes for sure, but still, even then, playing around with the I'm still not going to be as good as the pros, of course. That's a stupid thing to say. Of course I'm not as good as the pros, but yeah, it's going to take a long time to learn every single maneuver. Any other thing is to think about is when you're fighting Lucio combos, weaving in a punch at the end of your 4 shots. And the thing is with Lucio, you have to time it right, because if you don't, you see I'm on 20. I can do it early and then I've only got 2 shots out instead of 4. So that's your R3, your shooting, punching. And then obviously, see I did it early then, you've also got your boop to weave in. But that is when that's on cooldown. Anyway, and then the last thing of course is, if you are using your beat, don't jump. Because obviously the cast is huge. And there's no point, for example, that situation that I did it then, really do it here and it's going to get everybody. You don't need to jump off. It might look cool, but it makes you very easily interrupted. Or it's just going to take so long to cast that people are going to be dead. But I haven't seen you do that. I can't remember what other stuff I was going to talk about with the movement for Lucio, but yeah, it's a big thing. You really want to be, you know, when you're shooting in chokes or whatever, you don't want to just be on the floor shooting like this. You can do a bit, of course, but much better if you're getting an eye on things, you know. Using the surface thing that we've talked about. Anyway, there we go. There's some Lucio stuff. Maybe I'll think of more stuff at the end.